Hi, this is FizzCat, and I'm back with a video on Demon Lord Clan Boss. And what I'd like to talk about really is about theory, because there are a lot of videos out there on, how to build a particular team with particular champions and a particular speed tune. And that's not really where we're at, because this is Armature and we're all trying to get up to 2 key Nightmare so that we can graduate and move on to Ultra Nightmare. Um, so that stage is not, there are some videos out there on your very first clan boss team, but most of us are somewhere in between. So I'd like to talk about basically what you need as a foundation for your team, and then what you need to add to it to get up to that point. So to start with, I want to take a look at the very basics. I don't have a very basic team to show you, actually, but I mean, most of you are going to be well past this. But everybody knows when you start, you use your starter champion, usually Kale. If you didn't, you start with Kale, then you add some kind of poison, and then you add decreased defense, and you add some healing, and then whoever else you happen to have is pretty much who goes into your team. Weaken is also very good, and actually, for early teams, I mean, up through hard and even brutal, weaken can actually be more effective than decreased defense. So if you only have room in your team for one, it's better to pick weaken until you get up to Nightmare or Ultra Nightmare, and then decreased defense is the better one to pick if you can only have one. So now that said, most of you are past that point. Presumably, you've got your Kale at 60, and and my first team was Kale and, War Maiden for the decreased defense and for some extra poisons. And then Valerie is actually pretty solid for one of the free, you can farm her from a campaign. I like her better than, what's the free one everyone gets? War Priest. I like her better than War Priest as a support champ. She brings a lot of the same things, but she also brings a buff extender, which is actually very nice. So, if you're in that stage of the game, actually go with her and maybe hang on to her. I've hung on to mine for Faction Wars. But, basically you use what you can get in early game. But my current team is, well, pretty much all my 6-star champs. Most of them anyway. So let me close this here, and we'll go into my team. And I want to talk about why I picked the ones I did. So, what am I doing? Here we go. Team setup. Let me go into that. There we go. So, of course, you need damage, but as you're improving things, beyond just poison and damage, decreased defense, and healing, the next things you really want to add are speed, and you want to add decreased attack if you can get it. Speed, I've got Gom, and he's great because you want more healing, of course, wherever you can get it. So, I turned off his A3 because, of course, he can't stun the boss. And you also remember you cannot drop turn meter on the boss. Also, the max HP, the damage that scales on max HP, that doesn't apply to these guys, but it doesn't work on them. So champs that might be really good against other bosses, such as Coldheart, are not going to be useful in Clan Boss. So but he's got the speed, he's got healing, and then he's also got a leech, which is really nice. So and I'm still booking him out. But again, this is my team that I used for fighting hard and brutal. It's just gotten up to 2-key brutal because I just recently, well, you can see he's not quite at 60 yet. I recently 6-starred Gom and Zargala. And so once they're maxed out, that should be easy 2-key brutal all the time. Aox is still at 50, and also Zargala isn't booked. So that's another thing that would improve her greatly. What I'm missing in here is I don't have any protective buffs. I've got Zargala for decreased defense and weaken and damage. I've got Lemonisi because she's pure damage plus Brimstone, which is a very nice to have for damage. Kale, of course, is poison. Aox heals, and he brings the decrease attack. And Gom also heals and brings the speed. So I added the two of the things that I needed to break into hard and brutal. But the thing I'm really missing is any kind of protective buffs. I need, I could use some shields. I could use ally protect, increase defense, or strengthen, or some combination thereof. Ally protect is actually the strongest of those. It's a really, really good thing to have. But I don't have any ally protect champions. So, I'm working with what I've got. And, that's where I would want to go next is if it's not that, maybe somebody with shields, somebody who's going to bring a little bit more defense, because I feel like this is actually a little top heavy on the damage. Normally what I would be looking for is, a pure damage dealer, and then someone who's going to be bringing both poison and maybe some other good debuffs or something else to the team besides just poison. Although, frankly, since Kale has a 6-star blessing, he might be hard to beat for a while. And then Zargala is wonderful, but I would love, someone like a Deacon who's also going to bring a speed aura. And of course, I've already got the leech, but, from Gom down here, but basically just champs that are going to bring more than one thing, because that's what makes a good clan boss champ. Usually, I mean, like if you find for unkillable teams, sometimes what you need is one particular skill. Like if you've got Demitha, the really important thing is that she brings block damage, and everything is about tuning it so that the block damage blocks the damage at the right times. And then it doesn't really matter what else she does, as long as she has that. But with most champs, you want them to you want them to bring a lot. And that's why a champ, for instance, you'll hear about Taragi being talked about as a really, really good clan boss champ. And it's because he brings the ally protect, which, as I mentioned, is the best of the defensive buffs. And he also brings poison, and he brings decrease attack, which is the most important debuff. Frankly, if you don't have decrease attack, then it will not be very long before, it doesn't matter how much healing or anything else you have, the boss will one-shot you eventually. As it gets stronger, every 10 turns it gets stronger. So you really, really need that decreased attack as you move up into higher levels. Now, obviously, your gear needs to be stronger. And if all these guys had full masteries, if they all had War Master, then I would probably have no trouble at all with Brutal, and I would easily be able to start chipping away at Nightmare, even though it's I wouldn't get very far because, again, no decrease no defensive buffs. So let me move out of this. I'm going to put you on pause for a second and go over to my mid-game account so I can show you kind of the next level up from this and the kind of options that you might look at as an improvement. So just a second here. All right, now I'm back over here this is my mid-game account, and as you can see, it's a different set entirely. And basically I've got Venomage is great if you're lucky enough to have her. She's a fantastic clan boss champ because she brings the A3 here. She's got poison and heal reduction, and her passive gives protection if there's heal reduction placed. And then she brings decreased defense and decreased attack. And then she also she has a chance of blowing up the poison on the A1. So if you've got a lot of poison going on the team, it can help sort of keep it under control, which is very nice. And she's also pretty tanky. I think it's a she. It's kind of hard to tell, but anyway. So she's kind of the linchpin of the team. Delaja also brings poison on the A1, and she brings another decrease attack and continuous heal and shield. And now, see, this is where I've got some upgrade going on because I've got the shield in here, which I didn't have before. And also because I have decrease attack on two different champions. They're both on the 3-turn, which is nice. So there's it's very frequent. And also, I've got Venomage in the lead because since the decreased attack is redundant, if she gets stunned periodically, which being in the lead, she's the most likely, which stun targeting, it could be an entire video on itself, so I don't want to get into it. But generally, if you're on Void Affinity, your lead champion is the one that's going to get targeted the most for the stun on the A1 of the boss's cycle. But if you've got someone who's almost dead, they might target them instead. And then if it's on Affinity, then they're going to target the furthest, the one who's in front of the lineup who's of weak affinity. So like if it was if the boss was for instance magic, then it would target Delaja. But anyway, so because I've got two sources of decreased attack, I felt like I could let Venomage take the stun and not lose too much. I mean, I'd be losing the other things, but they're kind of less crucial. And I didn't really have another good aura because you have to remember it has to be in all battles. And like Delaja's, I believe, is Faction Wars only. Gorgorab is only arena. Apothecary is only dungeons. And you really have to watch that because I have seen there are teams that I've seen in Armiger who, they're not on Discord, so I haven't had a chance to work with them, and I can see that they have an aura that is simply not helping them as the lead aura. In this case, I like the extra little boost of accuracy, although I don't need it on very many of the champs, but like Gorgorab can use a little help, and sometimes he can help when it's on Affinity, when they get that, when the boss gets the increased attack, he can help pull it off with his A1. But like Rhonda has an increased attack aura, but I found that she was getting stunned so much it was actually hurting the amount of damage that the team was taking, and also she is a little less tanky than Venomage, a little bit. Yeah, just a little bit. I think I've improved Rhonda's build a little bit in here, but at least when I put together the team, Rhonda was not only doing a lot less damage, she was also dying a lot more. So that's why I chose the aura that I did. But yeah, just be careful when you're selecting who goes up front. Remember that they might be missing turns some of the time, and also they're going to get pummeled. So obviously, Apothecary, speed, and healing. Gorgorab brings, he's a really good champ. I like him. He's like a mini Arbiter, kind of. And I used him in Arena before I got Arbiter, because he's got a nice speed lead, and then he's got increased attack with a turn meter boost, and then also a revive and heal. And so I've actually got triple healing. I've got Delaja, Apothecary, and Gorgorab in here, but none of them heal very much. So it kind of works out. There's enough going around. But you want a little bit of redundancy built in. And that's one of the nice things. When you start picking up better champs that are more suitable for Clan Boss, you can have some redundancy. And now the one thing, as I said, like this one, it does well actually on Nightmare and on Brutal, but it is not ready for Ultra Nightmare. And the main reason is that even though I've got all that increased attack and all that, I really don't have any defensive buffs except for Delaja's shield. And it's not a huge, it's a nice shield, but it's not crazy. So that simply isn't enough. And so I do pretty decent damage. I've got a lot of poison. I survive, but I don't go that far because eventually I just get wiped out for lack of protective buffs. And so let me go out of here. I want to show you my roster and the sort of changes that I might look at making, and the sort of options you might want to consider, and why you might not want to consider certain things. Now, I also have Tomb Lord, who brings he has a he brings decreased attack and decreased defense, and he brings poison, which is all stuff that Venomage also brings. But his the decreased attack, decreased defense is on a 4-turn instead of a 3-turn, and he also he does not do anything with exploding the poisons the way that Venomage does. And I was actually having problems with the bar filling up with poisons, and then there was no room for the other necessary debuffs. So you have to watch that, because if you have two, if you go past 10, they don't stick, and you need to make sure, particularly that decreased attack is always placed. So I found that he was actually inferior to Venomage for Clan Boss, although I do prefer him in Arena. Like, I have Arbiter, but I use her in Arena, and she is, she's fast for, especially, for mid game account. I've got her up, 324. Gorgorob is a lot slower, but he's tankier. He's got like a 20,000 HP more than Arbiter, so he just stays alive better. And so I decided I didn't want to pull him out and put Arbiter in, because even though she has a better revive and a better kit overall, she is a better champion overall. I didn't want to have to switch her gear and make her slower just to make her tankier for Clan Boss. So in terms of other, the big damage dealers, I mean, Newt actually doesn't have full masteries yet. I think I'm still I just recently finished working on him on this account. He might be better than Rhonda in there, but the main thing I'm looking at is, how do I get more defensive buffs in there? And, of course, more damage is always good too. I was considering Farrakhan is excellent. He brings the ally attack. He does not bring the defensive buffs, but he does bring here we go. Yeah, he brings HP burn and poison, so he could possibly, and the decreased defense. So if I had more decreased attack in the turn, I could maybe substitute him for Venomage, and then get more damage from his ally attack. So about that, but the key in there is actually having more, again, it's the defensive buffs are the big thing. There's Vizix, who has, now her kit is not that great for Clan Boss, because like she has ally protection, but she also, like, her decreased speed doesn't apply. She has a great turn meter reduction. It doesn't apply. She has a provoke, which also doesn't apply, and she places a shield, but it's only on herself. So she is not my preferred ally protect champ. But what I'm looking at, though, is Ursula, because she has the increased attack, which I have from Gorgorob. She has decreased attack, and then on our A3, she brings increased defense and strengthen. And she also has a full team revive. So, it's, she takes a lot of books, especially on our A2. But she's a very, very good champ. And she basically, the only thing I would be losing is Gorgorob does bring a little bit of a turn meter boost, and he brings some healing. But as I said before, I've got some redundance going in. So that's the sort of thing you want to look at. How do you add things on without losing crucial things in the process? So that's kind of a look at where I'm going with this one. And obviously every roster is going to be different. But you always want to look for champions who can do more than one thing, particularly the things you need. So, if I could get in some good ally protect without losing other things in the process, I'd love to do that. So increased attack is very, very good to have, because it really does increase your damage quite a bit. Now, if you have a defense-based nuker, you can just use decreased defense or increased defense, which is, great because it helps everyone, but it particularly helps your defense-based nuker. So kind of kill two birds with one stone there. It's also very nice to have a cleanser, but not essential. You can usually kind of just work around it. And of course, I would not replace Ursula, or I wouldn't replace Gorgorab with Ursula until I do have her booked and I have her maxed and have her masteries, because she, don't think you can go in there and just drop in a level 50 champ with no books and that they're going to do better than your 6-starred maxed out champ just because they have better skills. Most of the time that just doesn't work. You can't judge their abilities until they are 6-starred and have their books. Now, I do like having a reviver in there, but to be honest, it's not the most essential part of a team. If you have good healing and you have good defensive buffs and you have the decreased attack in there, then you may not need a reviver. Other things that are really handy to have are buff extension, also debuff extension. Poison sensitivity is nice if you can get it. And the blessings are great. Having brimstone on your team is definitely a huge boost. So, those are all things to consider. And as you move up into Nightmare, you really can't, on all the other levels, you can have something missing. Like in this team, it does pretty well, but it doesn't have the defensive buffs. And that's why it's just not going to be a good Nightmare team. If you don't have full coverage on the decreased attack, it's going to fail. You're just not going to be able to get in enough damage before they wipe you out. So it's, that's, and also, of course, there's the gear issue. And that is actually the last thing I wanted to get into is what kind of stats do you need? How good does your gear need to be? So I'm actually going to put you on pause again for a minute, and I want to go over to Deadwood Jedi, and he's got a little guide. There's also, I think, one on Hell Hades. There are a number of places you can go, and what you want to look at is particularly the speed and the accuracy you need to be able to have a chance at the level that you want to fight. So hold on just a second, and I'll be right back. Okay, I am back, and this is the Deadwood Jedi Guide. It's got a lot of great information all through here, but this is the particular part I wanted to show you here. It's got speed, accuracy, and defense. Now, the minimum defense required is kind of what you want to look at if you actually want to do all 50 turns. That is not the defense required just to be able to, 2-key it or whatever. And basically, I don't think I've said this yet, but the point at which you start fighting the next level up is when you can comfortably 2-key. So, like, if you can 2-key hard, you should probably be trying to fight brutal. If you can 2-key brutal, you start working on Nightmare, etc. So just a 2-key, you don't actually need that much defense. But if you really want to do well at that level and max it out, then yeah, that's the minimum defense required. I'll scroll down for a second so you can see easy. So like easy, yeah, you only need the boss is 130 speed, 70 accuracy is enough. And you only need about 1,800 defense. And frankly, most of us do just fine on easy with less than that. And again, if you have defensive buffs of any kind, not just increased defense, but shields and things like that, that can also counter a lot of lack of defense. As you go up into medium and hard, and let me scroll up so you can see what these things are. But, you can see it's... if your champions are too slow, if your nukers are only 150 speed, you're going to start struggling as you get past hard and into brutal clan boss. And you can see as you get into Nightmare and Ultra Nightmare, if your champs are running too slow, if your fastest champions are, under 200, then you're not going to be able to hit much. because if the boss gets turns before you, you're kind of out of luck. Um, you need to be ahead of him. You need to be placing those buffs before he gets a chance to smack you. So, and with the accuracy, again, you don't need actually all that much for clan boss compared to other content. It maxes out around 230. That's really not that high. So, I usually tell people for most content, you want to get up around 200 anyway. And frankly, if you're going to be hitting Nightmare Clan Boss, your champs all need to be 6-starred. Um, and that means you're going to have accuracy, hopefully an accuracy banner. You might have some pinpoint gear or maybe some feral gear that you're getting from Siege that is going to help you hit the accuracy really pretty easily by the time you're up there. So I wouldn't worry too much about that. And again, with the defense, if you're really serious about putting a good team together, yeah, you kind of need a lot of it, but most of us get away with a little less. But anyway, that's sort of the kind of thing you're looking at. So you do need to improve your gear to the point where you can hit all those stats, where you can easily get that level of accuracy and have everyone running nice and fast. You don't have to have every single champion over 190 speed to be doing Ultra Nightmare. If your speed lead and your speed boosters and all that are well over 190, then they're going to pull up the slower champions with them. But the other thing, then the last thing that I want to talk about is that there is speed tuning that is not particular teams then that are not unkillable. We also, you'll hear about, Maneater unkillable or Demytha unkillable or Wixwell unkillable or whatever. And those are great. And they certainly are, if you want to be doing 1 or 2 key Ultra Nightmare, then that's kind of the way to go. But it's not the only kind of speed tune. There are a number of them that are actually, and I'm not going to go into it on here, but you can search Deadwood Jedi and also just, look on YouTube and see what's out there. You can look for things like 4-3 speed tunes are usually fairly accessible. The idea is that for every 3 turns of the boss, your team is getting 4 turns in. And you can sync it up and use the clan boss calculator to make it so that even if it's not unkillable, that your shields and your defensive buffs and all that sort of thing are actually all on your champs at the time that he comes down, the boss comes down with his big hits, particularly the A3, because that's the one that usually wipes everyone out, So that can actually, that's another thing to look at. If you have a pretty good team and it's just not quite staying alive as long as you'd like, then sometimes all you need to do is go in there and get the speeds just right. And then also it requires having decent gear. You're not going to be doing that in your first month, but after a while, when you have the gear and you're just not quite sure how to get that through that last hurdle, then look at the speed tunes and see if you can maybe just get the timing right. And it's kind of a nerdy mathy thing that I'm frankly not the person to ask for most of these. I can do it. I can use the clan boss calculator, but it's kind of, it's up there with going to the dentist for me. I really don't like to do it. So, I do what's necessary, but it is, the thing is, once you have it, it's done. If you have a good team that can hit Ultra Nightmare, you lock it in and then you never have to look at it again. So it's definitely worth spending a day or two going through and seeing if you can actually get the team tuned to get the numbers you want. And if you do enjoy that sort of thing, then more power to you, and you're going to do very, very well in this game. So anyway, that's about it, and I hope that was helpful. And again, if you have any questions, if you're in the clan, by all means, reach out on Discord. And I am not going to speed tune your team for you, but I can certainly help. There's a number of us who can look at your roster, maybe give you some ideas for champs that are going to help get you to the next level, and we will certainly, do our best to help out. So have a good night or day, as the case may be, and have fun. Enjoy the game. Have a good night.